Here we are, this week's TV segment of Nerd Bar Live. So, tonight, mid-season finale of The Walking Dead.
Already.
Didn't see that coming, did you? I mean, what's going to happen the second half of the season?
God.
How could it get any bloodier than that? It can and it will, and that's why
Because it's
we're
The
going to
Walking
keep.
Dead.
That's why we're going to keep watching.
That's what they do.
Yes, I know. So, at points during this half of the season, I've heard some people kind of, it's dragging a little bit.
A little sleepy.
Yeah, see, right there, a little sleepy.
But that's because it's character development, and nobody wants to see character development. They want to see zombie killing.
I've gotten bored with the zombie killing.
Really?
Yeah, I'm more into the. I'm trying. They seem to be aimless right now. After they've lost the prison, and they wandered, and they escaped from Terminus, and they've wandered. I'm like, they're aimless. There's no hope. There's no. I mean, the hope was lost with finding out Eugene didn't really have the cure.
Dirty liar.
Yeah. So right now they're an aimless, hopeless group of people. The only thing that keeps them together is just the camaraderie.
Well, sure, these people are safe. These people have your back. These people are going to share with you. These people are going to protect you. Keep them alive. Stay with your group. Protect your group.
But I think that's why, our little pastor friend just couldn't take it and he ran off.
Yeah, I don't
Big mistake on his part, by the way.
He is not prepared for that world.
But, he's minding his own business, living in complete
denial
of what's going on around him, the sins he's committed. And this group just comes in, they save him, he invites them in, and then another group shows up and wants to kill them. He's hiding, fearful for what's going on, and then they get slaughtered in his church, and he's like, wow. And then Carl's just like, hey man, this is just the world we're living in now, pick a weapon. And he's just not, he's not ready for that yet. We don't have an announcement yet, but we hope to have a surprise announcement about some Walking Dead guests in the near future. So keep your eyes peeled to the show and to the social media and to the interwebs, awesome. Because we will start to be talking about guests in the next few weeks. And of course, we've had a good run with Walking Dead guests at XCon, so why would we stop? Of course we're going to bring you some more Walking Dead guests. You can ask them yourselves. Like, what's with the mullet? All right, so outside of Walking Dead, catch me up real quick. What's going on Constantine?
I'm not caught up on Constantine.
Oh, that's what's happening.
I'm an episode behind on Constantine.
Oh no. Well, we'll have to catch you up on Constantine next time.
We will, in fact, do a little bit of binge watching on the Constantine there. We'll talk about that. Binge watching.
Yeah. Now, I've kept up with The Flash, and man, that show is moving fast.
Now, is it taking the dark turn that the other DC products seem to be taking?
And not really.
Although it's kind of staying a little more upbeat.
There is a kind of forbidden love element to it, but it's still kind of high school feeling.
So not dark like Gotham.
No, but man, there's like a bad guy a week on that show.
Yeah?
All of a sudden, where do all these meta-humans come from? And
the original Flash TV show was like that. They had a heavy dose of bad guys, and you kind of start to feel like you're watching Spider-Man after a while. It's like, where do all these bad guys keep coming from?
Now, very early...
Doesn't this guy ever have a normal day where he drinks some coffee and eats some toast?
I think by the second episode of Flash, you were already clued in to the guy that you think is his friend isn't. There's a darker, sinister motive going on in the background that hasn't been discovered by our heroes yet. And I think that was... like in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we didn't find that out till well into the end of the first season, all of the intrigue and backstabbing was going on. And Flash, right up by the second episode, they introduce you to, like, this guy's going to backstab Flash and the gang. Right off the bat, you find that out. But now you're watching like, no, don't trust him. What are you doing? He's going to backstab.
you're talking to the screen, then it must be a good story.
Yeah, like, don't go in the room. He's under the bed.
The call's coming from inside the house.
Yeah, exactly. So you get that kind of feel when you're... But I think that targets the audience that Flash was intended to target. It's intended for those 14 to 20-year-olds.
Flash is kind of an old school superhero type of a thing.
Yeah.
You got the sort of good triumphs feel out of Flash. He's not too complicated. It's easy to follow. It's easy to digest.
You like to like him because he's so enthusiastic.
And I think that rings true.
He's
not only from the character in the TV show, but the original TV show had that same sort of feel to it. It's very exuberant.
Yeah, he's young. He's got this new power, and he's just discovering how powerful it really is. Episode by episode, he's learning a little bit more. He's getting smarter. He's getting better. He's making a lot of mistakes, but he's surviving in the end. And it's pretty fun to watch. It's not the emotional investment that you have with like The Walking Dead or Gotham or something like that. You don't have to like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? Flash is gonna be okay.
Not super dramatic like Arrow.
No major characters are gonna get turned into zombies or.
As far as you know.
Yeah, well, not yet anyway. We haven't seen the talking gorilla yet. When they bring out Grodd, then we'll know it's gotten real. Now Gotham. I don't even know how to continue talking about it.
Penguin kind of took over that show, didn't he?
It's
he's kind of
well, you could tell that was going to happen. I mean,
I had no idea he was going to be that prominent. I mean, he's almost a heavy on that show now. And now you find out that he's kind of been working both sides all along.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
Don't trust that guy.
No, of course not. It's
Don't turn your back on him either.
Don't turn your back on Cobblepot. And other than not getting an update on Constantine, that'll wrap it up for this week. And we'll see you next time. Here we are with this week's movie segment. Christiana has made it back to the couch because she is so excited to talk about the movie we mentioned last time, just briefly, Interstellar. It was so cool of a movie, we couldn't let it slide without talking about it. And when Christiana started talking about it, I knew we had to talk about it. Now, Steve, I know you've heard a lot about it. You haven't seen all of it, but you've seen some of it. I was watching it like this.
Yeah, it was intense.
Yeah, I mean, for 2 whole hours, I would just the math nerd in me, the physics nerd in me was like, yes, yes, yes. And then it got near the end, and I was like, okay, maybe not so much like that, but still cool. Then it went from science, and then the last, 30 minutes, the fiction part came in.
Definitely.
But up until then, it was all...
I heard that you come out of the movie smarter than when you went in.
Possibly, if you pay
somewhat
close attention.
educational? Yeah,
If you pay close attention, it definitely will open your eyes to the world of...
So you think the math and science part of it was solid?
I'd say the first 90 minutes of it was really solid. And then the last 30 minutes was some fiction.
From what I read, their science was pretty accurate.
Yeah. And from my personal studies and philosophies and stuff, it was right on up until that last bit, and then it was like, well, who knows? Can't say. That's just let your imagination go wild. Not to give too much away, but once you enter a black hole, we don't know. So at that point, they could just do whatever they wanted to. But a bunch of clowns? No, there wasn't any clowns. I was making that up. When I went to go see it, there was a bank of... trying to be polite and not call them blue hairs, but elderly people sitting behind me watching the movie. And they were very quiet and respectful watching the movie like I was. But at the end of the movie, the comments started where I was sitting there almost like with tears in my eyes, so overwhelmed by the movie. They were like, well, you picked this weird movie, and I don't even know what I just watched. At my age, you don't want to waste 2 hours like that. So clearly not everybody gets it.
And you can't miss anything.
No, it was just you feel like it's moving slow at the beginning, but it really isn't. I mean, all the stuff that's happening at the beginning is so important to what happens at the
It's
end.
kind of a long movie, too, isn't it? It's like 3.5 hours.
It was about 2 hours and 20 minutes, something like
I
that.
think it was closer to 3.
Was it? Wow. We'll put something down here. We'll see who wins. We'll put a dollar on it. It could have been 2 more hours for me. I would have kept watching it, especially with all the space exploration and all that kind of stuff. So, premise, Earth is dying, for lack of a better explanation. They try to use blight as taking over the soil of the Earth. It's killing off all the plant life, which takes away the oxygen that we breathe. So we're being choked out basically by the death of plant life with this
Dust
bacteria.
Bowl, like.
Oh yeah, there's some good Dust Bowl scenes. In fact, at the beginning they show you some footage which you would think was actual Dust Bowl era testimony. But later in the movie you find out it was something else, which is kind of neat too. Yeah, so that's what it looks like. It looks like Dust Bowl in America thing going on. And the only thing that's left that grows is corn. Everything else dies or won't grow because of the blight. And there's a secret NASA program going on. They have found a wormhole has appeared near, was it Jupiter or Saturn? Near Saturn. And they're going to go through that wormhole and find other habitable planets. But they had actually been doing this for 50 years. Until Matthew McConaughey kind of appears on the scene. But
So then, like, sending probes through it?
Probes and people.
Oh, okay.
This has been going on for 50 years. And so Matthew McConaughey's character kind of just discovers this and goes on the next kind of last-ditch trip. Like, this is it. This is all we got left. This is it or nothing. And then it gets even more... There's more intrigue weaved into it. But let's ask some questions. So, for you, what did you think about the effect of time and gravity, and that you could just be gone for 10 minutes and it could be 50 years on Earth?
It's certainly very interesting. I think about things like that a lot.
I mean, the math is true. The math works. The more intense the gravity is, the more time slows. We've proven that with experiments. But
it was very interesting to see. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but the effects of...
You can give away spoilers. This movie's been out for weeks now.
Okay.
It's fine. They've all seen it.
The way when he finally got to his daughter, she was elderly and he was still the same age.
Yeah.
Because
and see, when he first got back to the ship and the messages were coming in, I was like, I couldn't watch those. I wouldn't want to see my children already older than me.
Right.
So
Time was faster on one side of the black hole than the other.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So now you see there's a lot of weirdness going on. So yeah, Matthew McConaughey stays the same age in the movie, and his children age through the movie and die at the end, and he's still the same guy.
Right, it's just a few years for him, but their entire lifetime.
Yeah, yeah. And his daughter handles it really well at the end, although she handles it horribly up until the end. Yeah. Again, awesome science part of the movie to get all that right. And the debates they had on it. And when they were talking about resources, usually when you're talking about spaceflight, they're talking about a fuel resource, food, air, water. And all of a sudden it dawned on them, we have to consider time as a resource too. We can't spend too much time in high gravity fields, or Earth may already be destroyed by the time we figure out whatever it is we're figuring out. We've got to be quick about what we're doing.
So any of these high gravity fields stretches the time they've left behind, but they are in real time as far as they know.
Yes, time for them moves at the same speed in their experience, but time is moving a lot faster outside of that high gravity area. So, for example, in the movie, an explorer goes through 50 years prior. The first planet they get to, that's where her probe is sending off a signal. They go down. This is supposed to have been there for 50 years now. They go down there and they find the wreckage of her ship. And then, of course, it's the giant tidal waves. Awesome special effects scenes. Just really, really cool. I wanted to surf so bad when I saw that. And then when they finally get out of there, they realize that wreck just happened like maybe an hour ago on time on that planet because of the gravity field, but it had been 50 years.
Huh.
Or even just moments. What was it? Every hour was 12 years or something?
Yeah. Like she could have just landed right before we got there. And that's why we could still find the wreckage, because it hadn't really been 50 years. It had only been maybe an hour or so before she had already just died. So real intense, real intense.
Sounds pretty strong. Strong emotions in this movie, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and the special effects were just really incredible. There's a surprise celebrity in the movie, and he's a jerk. And I will let that be a mystery to you. I won't spoil that for you. But when you go see it and you see, oh, look who's in it. Oh, he's going to be a jerk. I was already warned. He's a real jerk. But the special effects on the interstellar travel and planetary travel and all that was great. And then when they got into the black hole, it was really trippy. All of a sudden we went back to like 2001, A Space Odyssey kind of feel. The soundtrack already gave us that feel. I mean, they would start beating that soundtrack loud enough to start drowning out dialogue to let you know you are watching something epic. This is big, this is epic, this is a big deal. And the dialogue gets drowned out by the soundtrack, which is very 2001. Yeah, I'm going to have to go see this like 10 more times before it leaves the theater. I really loved it. Well, what was your favorite part? And then we'll have to part on that part.
I like when he went into the black hole and you could see basically all the different time windows and the way he was communicating with his daughter.
Yes, that was another excellent thing. So, in Hawking's theory, you can travel forward in time by intensifying gravity, but you can't go backwards. And they kind of say that, yeah, there's no back door, you can't go backwards. However, gravity as a weak force in our dimension as we experience it is the unifying force across dimensions, and you can manipulate gravity through time and actually send messages back and forth through time using gravity. So that's why some of the things that happen early in the movie that you kind of just glance over and might not pay attention to are actually really, really important. And that's all the time we have, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, fellow nerds! If you are in Myrtle Beach, you need to check out Ex-Con Comics on Main Street. It is the heart of the beach. Inside, you will find Nerd Bar, a new concept in nerdy entertainment. Ex-Con Comics is the home of Ex-Con, one of the fastest growing Comic Cons and the biggest in South Carolina. Whether it's comics, games, art, movies, or just something truly unique, Ex-Con Comics and Nerd Bar is the home of what is cool in Myrtle Beach. Check out facebook.com/nerdbar1 for more information. And remember, hot chicks love comics too.
Well, this week's Comic Corner is the Comic Couch, because we have author Paul Grimshaw with us, who's written this fascinating book, and we wanted to ask him a few questions about it because it's hard to wrap your mind around. So Paul, first, how long did it take you to write this book?
That's a great question. Everybody asks me that, and it's hard to say because I got the idea for it like 25 years ago at a Civil War reenactment in Franklin, Tennessee. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, they did the 150th anniversary reenactment of the Battle of Franklin, a Civil War reenactment. And I got the idea for it standing at the hillside, and I thought, what about these Twilight Zone moments where all of a sudden you're not looking at a reenactment, but somehow you're transported into the actual battle. And I thought, oh, that's kind of a fun, crazy, goofy story. So I had the germ of the idea, the seed of it, 25 years ago. Didn't start writing it until about 10 years ago. Stopped, for 5 or 6 years, and then wrote the bulk of it in 2012. So
In like 2 days.
it went pretty fast. Once I got moving, it went fast. But
So you've been writing it in your head that whole time, kind of
sort of. I mean,
working through the story.
Yeah, I would go through many months 6 months, maybe even many years, without really thinking about it or touching it. But then I was inspired by the upcoming 150th anniversary of the Civil War, which ends next year at Appomattox. That'll be the end of the 150th anniversaries. And I thought, you know what, if I'm going to do this book, I want it out during the 150th. It just seemed to make sense. So that was my motivation to keep going and get it done.
So tell us briefly the main characters and how they end up in the Civil War.
Well, I have, 3 main protagonists and several secondary characters who, the 3 main protagonists are 3 average guys of varying socioeconomic and racial backgrounds. One's an attorney. 2 of them are attorneys. One's African American. They're in their 30s or 40s. One is a young guy, an auto mechanic. They're Civil War buffs and they're reenactors. And I did research by becoming a Civil War reenactor myself, so that I knew what I was writing
So you have
about.
the uniform.
Oh yeah.
Which side are you on?
Another question everybody asks: most Civil War reenactors fight for both sides, depending on the
So
need.
you have 2 uniforms.
Yep.
Okay.
And that the vast majority are like that. Some hardcore ideologues would say, "I'm never putting on no Yankee uniform."
Do you have a rank?
I do. I'm a private. I like to keep it simple.
Start off that way, or
Yeah.
can you just walk out there in a general's
No.
uniform one day?
Cannot.
So it's like a whole hierarchy.
Yes, but it's very loosely based on the group or the unit that you join. So everybody has their own rules. There is no official way to do it.
Okay. Not like Society
Yeah.
for Creative Anachronism.
Not at all.
Okay.
Right. So in any event, my 3 protagonists are guys like that I might know in the group that I belong to that's based in Conway, and they're at the 150th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg in Pennsylvania. And one minute they're pretending that they're in a battle, and the next minute they realize there's something going on. Cannon shells are flying over their heads.
Real shrapnel.
People are being shot and
Yeah.
killed, and they're trying to wrap their heads around what has happened.
Who put the peyote in the coffee?
Yeah, I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but I think I say that much, at least in the back of the book. So that's essentially how it starts. They have to figure out where they are, how to get back. I will say this much: when they travel back to 2013 in my book, the world is a changed place. This is a what-if book. What if the South had won the Civil War? What might the world today look like? And of course, it's all supposition.
That's a real touchy subject.
It can be. I mean, I haven't gotten any hate mail yet,
Yeah.
but it was really fun to think about. I conclude that, again, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but I conclude that maybe a weaker United States of America would not have entered some of the European wars, and the rise of Adolf Hitler, and who knows what might have happened.
Oh, yeah. It's
so
a chain reaction.
if the Allies aren't there and England's not there, who's left to fight Hitler? No one.
Right.
And so, what are the consequences of a fractured union? That's my supposition.
All right.
But it's really not very deep into the geopolitical kind of realities. Those things are mentioned in brief. It's really an action-adventure thriller. Car chases, shootouts,
Science
good guys.
fiction.
There's enough science fiction in there to explain how they're moving in and out of time and space. But it's really not a science fiction book in that sense of the word, in that there's not a ton of science fiction, just enough to sort of move the story forward.
Right.
It's really about, they're accused of being spies because here they are, these strange people in a strange land, dressed weird, and acting strangely, so they're accused of being terrorists. So they're underground. They find there's a reunification movement that's trying to rejoin North and South together.
Oh, this is after they come back to the present.
Yes.
The alternate present.
Yeah, the alternate present, exactly right.
Cool.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm working on a prequel right now. This is done really well. It's been out for about a year, and
Other than XCon Comics, where can people find these?
well, this is no. You got to come to XCon Comics. I don't even want to mention.
Well, we have viewers around the country, so
Well, if they're around the country, then
we'll be happy to ship them to you, but you might want to go online.
Amazon.com is clearly the easiest place
Okay.
to find it. So yeah, and it's also available as a Kindle ebook.
Can they get them signed through Amazon, or is
No.
that's exclusive?
But
to us?
if they go to my website, which is www.travelersofthegraydawn.com,
right down here, folks.
right there,
Yep.
I will be happy to help them work it out. I've sent a lot of autographed copies out
Great.
that way.
Well, guys, this is it's not a comic book yet, but it's a great book. It's local and it's independent, and we love to promote that. And you guys should promote Paul because he's a great local writer. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
So, is it Queen Elsa? Is that your name?
Yes, that's right.
What brings you to MetaHuman Therapy today, Queen?
Well, I've just been feeling down for a while.
Feeling kind of blue, a little depressed.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about your parents?
Well, when I was a kid, they told me I was special.
Mm-hmm.
And then they locked me away in a room, and
Really?
I spent most of my childhood in there, away from everybody.
That's
And-
just terrible.
I never even really got to come out until my parents died in a shipwreck.
Yeah, any brothers or sisters?
I have a sister.
Okay. Tell me about her.
Well, she and I were always really close, but she makes rash decisions and tries to run off and marry random guys that she just met.
So she's like a dancer or a stripper.
No, she's just impulsive.
Impulsive. Okay. All right. So you're queen of this kingdom now. I understand.
Yes.
What's that like? Is that stressful, or what is that like?
Yeah, everybody's always like, oh, Elsa, we want to go ice skating. Elsa, will you make it snow? Elsa, build an army of snowmen.
Huh. Illusions of grandeur. Okay, so I think there's not much else we can ask you other than maybe your love life.
Why does everybody always think I need to be dating somebody? I am perfectly fine by myself. And the first time you get any little bit of attention, you're all over the tabloids. Why does everybody think I'm dating Jack Frost? I've never even met Jack Frost.
You sound a little frigid.
People keep saying that. Every time I go out with a guy, they say I'm frigid.